So individualism is a word they've been using, and that they say is alt-right and white supremacist. Now it's a dog whistle. Free speech, we've seen them use the phrase free speech to say that free speech is now an alt-right dog whistle. Like anything that goes against their narrative, anything effective, they ban it. And I was saying that soon I expect the word univariate to be considered alt-right, white supremacist, whatever. Well, they're doing that with the word boogaloo. And now let's talk about why they're doing that with the word boogaloo first. Do you remember there was a federal officer, Patrick Underwood? He was killed during the Oakland riots a few weeks ago. And they caught the killers, or well, the alleged killers. And one of the guys' names was Stephen Carrillo. And he had a ballistic vest with a patch that referenced the boogaloo, and allegedly he wrote the word boog on the hood of a car in blood. And so there's a tie now to this. Now the mainstream media is going to pick up on this word boogaloo, and let's just hear what a couple people are saying about it first, and then I'll explain the truth about boogaloo. According to Forbes, while both the boogaloo meme that gave rise to the group as well as its name are racist, some proponents hold themselves out as allies of the Black Lives Matter movement, and others see themselves as true defenders of law and order. By the way, the meme, not racist. We'll go over the meme in a moment. Total lie. Total lie. And by the way, it's not a movement. It's a word. Another thing we'll talk about. Shannon Watts, one of my favorite people to hate follow on Twitter. She's the Moms Demand, like anti-gun Karen. I don't know. Yeah. She writes, the boogaloo meme emerged in anti-government and white power spaces in the early 2010s and has been an explicit call for race war. The term is regularly deployed by white nationalists and neo-Nazis who want to see society descend into chaos so that they can build a new fascist state. Now, by the way,
hold on. Wait. Can I say something? They want to see society descend into chaos so they can build a new fascist state. That's what SJWs want.
Right. Yeah. So this is what she says. Now, I'm going to not quote me. I'll tell you about the boogaloo in a minute. But before I even before I'm the one presenting information, J.J. McNabb, who's an anti-Trump leftist and a fellow at the George Washington University's program on extremism and has written books on extremist movements, she quotes the Shannon Watts tweet that I just mentioned, and she writes, almost nothing in this statement is true. Jim Scudo, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, CNN anchor and chief national security correspondent, he says, this group, he's talking about the boogaloo, this group is white supremacist and aims to start a race war it calls the boogaloo. Again, J.J. McNabb, leftist extremist expert, says this just isn't true. Okay, so without relying on a leftist extremist, anti-Trump expert, I will talk to you guys about the boogaloo because I use the word boogaloo. I have used the word boogaloo in the past. I'm going to keep using the word boogaloo in the future. The origins of the boogaloo are actually not only not racist, just kind of silly. There was a crappy movie. That movie was called Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo. It was a dance movie, and I think it was in the 80s, and it was really bad. It was very poor quality. So people mocked the movie, and one of the ways that they mocked it is when sequels came out for things, people would start to put Electric Boogaloo, because it was just this indication of like, oh, the sequel's going to suck. It's going to be called Electric Boogaloo, right? Now, eventually that turned into people looking around. So I want to be clear about this. This is not people hoping for civil war. This is people that are looking around at society falling apart around them saying, shit, there's going to be a civil war and it's going to suck. It's not going to be like a noble civil war against slavery. It's going to be a crappy civil war. And they dubbed it Civil War 2.0 Electric Boogaloo. Now, eventually, that's been shortened to Boogaloo. And lots of different people use the word boogaloo. Most people that I see use the word boogaloo, including myself, they use it to describe this increasingly inevitable societal collapse and physical confrontation that may happen. I don't want it to happen. I think most people don't want it to happen.
That nobody wants.
Right. I think most people don't want it, but there's this increasing sense that like I better prepare for the boogaloo because it's starting. Maybe it's going to happen. And what I've seen from the boogaloo crowds generally is they seem to fall into two camps. One seems to be mostly politically checked out because they've resigned themselves to the idea that they can't stop the boogaloo. It's coming. They can't stop it. They wish they could stop it, but they've kind of given up on discourse, and they kind of feel like, okay, well, I guess the boogaloo is going to happen, and I guess we should be prepared. I will put myself in that camp with the exception that I haven't given up on discourse. I'm just kind of feeling like it's a high probability that the boogaloo is going to happen, so I'm still going to fight verbally as long as I can, and I hope it doesn't happen. I'd rather have some other peaceful resolution, but as time goes on, I more and more resign myself to that actually may be a reality. So there's those people, and a lot of those people are disconnected from politics because they just believe like it's going to happen. Why even argue about politics? Let's just sit around, collect ammo, become preppers, and wait for the boogaloo to happen, right? There is a contingent of what I would call collapsitarians. They actually want the boogaloo. Some of them, Some of them, I'm sure, want the boogaloo just because they're anarchists and they want chaos. Fine, and I mean anarchists in a bad way.
Also, some of them are anarchists in a bad way and they want chaos, but some of them are actually just they want to accelerate it because they think they want to get to the rebuilding part. Right. They want it to collapse faster so we can start rebuilding.
Yeah. So most collapsitarians are there because they want it to go fast because they want to get it over with. They feel they want to rip the Band-Aid off. They're like, well, we're going to have to have this is going to have to come to a head at some point. Let's do it sooner rather than later. And that's their mindset. In fact, a lot of boogalooers in that category, the collapsitarians, I saw them follow none other than Andrew Yang. They supported Andrew Yang during the last primaries because a lot of them felt like universal basic income would be the straw that broke the camel's back. The country would fall apart, and they thought Andrew Yang could usher in the boogaloo. That was their feeling. Obviously, there's going to be some white supremacists that use the word. There's going to be some Marxists that use the word. There's going to be someone of every political flavor that uses the word, because anyone with two eyes can look out at the world right now and go, there's a chance of a boogaloo. Like, it's not like not everyone thinks it's going to happen, but everyone agrees there's a possibility here. A lot of normal people look out and go, there's a possibility. So a lot of people use the word. It's not a movement. It's not a white supremacist movement. It's not an alt-right movement. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's just a word that's used in the way that I just described. And the reason that they want to make this word associated with white supremacy, the reason they want to outlaw this word and make it verboten is a lot of the people, almost not all, but a lot of the people that are aware of this, that use the word boogaloo, that are preppers or whatever, regardless of whether they're collapsitarian or hoping to avoid it or whatever, a lot of the people that use the word, they are the people that are standing between the leftist elites and a transition to Marxist authoritarianism. That's it. That's your army. Your civil defense is mostly people who use the word boogaloo. They're armed. They want freedom. Most of them. Not all of them. But mostly those are the people that are going to save your ass if there's a Marxist authoritarian push. They're going to be the people that save your ass. That's why they need to be vilified now. They need to be called white supremacists. They need to be shouted down. They need to be torn apart. Facebook has banned the use of the word boogaloo in association with like guns or something. Like they're trying to make these guys out to be the bad guy because they are the enemy of the elite authoritarians. That's why they're doing it.
Well, also, they just don't want you to be able to talk about it. Like, what if it became a thing where, people started to ask, what's the boogaloo? And then they like a lot of normies and quite honestly, a lot of these sort of well-meaning NPC SJWs.
Mm-hmm.
If they ever got out of their echo chambers long enough to see that people were afraid of the possibility of a civil war, they don't want anyone to talk about that. They don't want anyone to acknowledge, like, there are many people coming to this conclusion independently now.
Yep.
And they're using this word boogaloo in a funny way, but they don't want people talking about that. And because it's funny, it's a good meme, and as we know, memes are very effective at getting attention, and so they have to squash it and say you can't use this. For anyone who doesn't know and is new to the channel, we talked about how they've banned some of these words that they've tried to make taboo. They not only socially try to make them taboo, first of all, you get professors writing op-eds trying to make these words off limits and saying stuff like individualism is a dog whistle for white supremacy, which is BS. White supremacy is collectivist. It is not individualist. That's flat. Again, we're talking a lot of bald-faced lies in this episode, but that's a bald-faced lie. They have academics, these SJW pseudo-intellectuals who try and attack these words. Then you see it filtering down where, like, the more soccer mom NPC SJWs start repeating this stuff without even knowing what they mean. They will say to you, oh, individualism is something white supremacists believe in. It's like, no, they don't actually. They believe in the opposite. They believe in collectivism. And then you see the social media companies start to ban. They put these words on lists. There was a leaked list that Facebook had a list of words that would get your post hidden or get your post flagged. And they started, anybody who's using these words, and on that list were words like SJW was on there, Overton window was on there. There were a couple of others. I'm sure Boogaloo is on there now.
Oh, absolutely.
It's something you can't talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it is too, Carrie. Absolutely, it's on there. So that's why they want to ban it. That's why they want to. That's one of them. And
that's why they want to ban it.
And by the way, the nice thing. So I think maybe this is just me projecting, but I think a lot of the times the reason that people use the word boogaloo is it's dark humor. It's a way to deal with something that's like an incredibly depressing and scary situation. Like, can you imagine an actual civil war? It would be horrific. Innocent people would die. We would lose family and friends. It would be a horrible, horrible scenario. And a lot of times people try and like confront horrible scenarios by using some sort of humor. And boogaloo is just like this silly, humorous, like, there might be a boogaloo. Like, it's a way to kind of deal with it psychologically. And they don't want you to deal with it psychologically either. They want you, it's the Borg. Resistance is futile. You will be assimilated. There will be no boogaloo. Like, that's what they're telling you. Like, do not imagine a boogaloo, right? No, they're going to take over, and that's the end of it.
As the boogaloo is happening, they'll be putting out on legacy media that it's not happening. They'll be very 1984. Oceania is not at war with East Asia. I don't know what you. There's no boogaloo happening.
Boogaloo is an alt-right conspiracy propagated by Yeah.
But exactly. You know what they tend to do with these, when they call something white supremacist? When you mentioned earlier, anyone with a set of eyes can look around them and say, hey, we might be headed to this thing they're calling boogaloo, maybe, and that's awful. It's like going outside. It's like saying, oh, it looks like it's going to rain today. And they're like, you know who else sometimes says it looks like it's going to rain today? White supremacists.
Hitler thought it was raining.
Hitler once thought it was going to rain.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, it's crazy.